All right, Algebra 1, here we go. New section, new chapter. We are starting our equation chapter. So we're going to start off with solving some equations, two-step equations, stuff like that, and really just build up throughout this chapter. So just like in the last chapter, if you are confused on something, please make sure that you're letting me know as soon as possible. Don't let these things build up until you are completely lost. Make sure you're sticking with these videos each day, and just stay on top of everything and let me know if you have any questions. So let's look at this bell ringer here. We want to fill in the blank with the correct number. So what can we fill in here so that this will be true? So if we look at this for a little bit, we might think, all right, what do I have to add to 5 to get to 11? And that'll be a 6. So what has to be in here in order to make that be a 6? And that would be a 3. So the answer there would be 3. Okay? So that's just something to kind of get us started here and get us thinking. So if you look at your notes, I gave you some steps here, and these are just some questions that you want to ask yourself, okay? So first of all, do I have parentheses? If no, move on to your next step. But if you do, then you distribute. Are there like terms? Combine them if there are. If not, you move on to the next step. If there's variables on both sides, move the smaller one. Now, you don't have to move the smaller one. Sometimes we will just always move our variables to the left. So we'll talk about that in a couple of days when we get into that section. Next, is there a number that has no variable? And if there is, we need to move that one away from the variable, so we move the number that is not attached to the variable. And then the last thing, if there is a number in front of the variable other than 1, we multiply it or divide it to get that over to the other side. But remember, the main concept here that we need to remember is we are always doing the opposite operation. Okay, so if there's an addition problem, we subtract. If there's multiplication, we divide. If there's division, then we multiply. So we just always do the opposite of whatever is happening in the problem. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That is something that will help you even further than these 5 steps right here. There's also this nice little neat graphic here. There is an equal sign, so these are things that happen on both sides of the equal sign. And again, we will be adding some steps into this each time. But first of all, if you have parentheses on both sides or one side or whatever, we distribute that. These are things that we do separately on each side of your equal sign, and then we move on. So let's get into some of these examples because I think this is some stuff that you've seen before. So we want to just refresh your memory and build on what you already know. So first of all, remember, our general idea here is we want to get the variable by itself. So we need to move everything with the variable, starting with the number that is not attached. So first of all, we look, is there a distributive property? No, there's no parentheses. Any combining like terms? No. So then we start moving the number that does not have a variable but is on the same side as the variable. So this is a negative 15, and I want that to be a 0. So how do I get to 0? Well, I add 15. So we're going to add 15 to both sides. Another key thing you have to remember is whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. Otherwise, it's no longer equal. If I just add 15 over here, and it's like one of those, picture like a seesaw. If you add 15 pounds to one side of the seesaw, but not the other side, it's no longer equal, and it's going to be tilted towards one side. We don't want that. So negative 15 plus 15 is 0, so they cancel out. So my right-hand side, I'm just left with 14x, and the left-hand side, take 475 plus 15. Now, a lot of this is calculator work, okay? In order to receive full credit, you have to show all your work, okay? And you've been seeing this, no work, no credit, okay? You have to show your work in order to get full credit, on these problems, okay? So just make sure that you're showing work for everything, all right? Last thing that we need to do, we have to get that x by itself. So this is 14 times x. So what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So we're going to divide both sides by 14. So you take 490, divide by 14, and you get 35. And you can write 35 equals x or x equals 35, doesn't matter. That is your final answer. Now, these you can always check to see if you have the right answer because I can take 35 and plug it in here for x and show that the left side is equal to the right side. Okay, so you can do that to make sure that you have the correct answer. So let's keep going here. Again, I want to get b by itself. So first up, I will get rid of this 1. There goes the bell. So we're going to add 1 to both sides. So add 1. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0, so they cancel out. Then I'm left with 17b equals negative 1 plus 1 is 0. This kind of looks like 176. Let me fix that because I want that to be very clearly a 17b and not a 176. So 17b. Hopefully that's a little better. All right, now we got to get b by itself. Divide by 17. This is 17 times b. We have to do the opposite. So we will divide both sides by 17. 0 divided by 17 is 0. There's your final answer. Next, we're going to go through a bunch of these, so just keep going with it. If you want to work ahead and check your answers, go ahead and do that. Now I'm trying to get v by itself, trying to get this variable by itself. So we will get rid of the 18. Right here it's a negative 18. We always look at the sign in front of the number, and we do the opposite and add. So we want to see how does that number relate to the variable, and this is being subtracted. All right, so then take your calculator. Negative 34 plus 18 equals 16. So yeah, I can't think today. Negative 16. So negative 8v equals negative 16. Okay, negative 30. I was thinking negative 35. Negative 34 plus 18 is negative 16. All right, now we have to get rid of the negative 8. So we will, again, this is being multiplied by v, so we're going to divide by the number in front of the variable. So we're going to divide by negative 8. Now, a common mistake here is people will say, well, this is a negative, so I have to add. But again, remember, we're looking at the relationship between that number and the variable, and they are being multiplied. So we do the opposite and divide. So negative 8. So v equals negative 16 divided by negative 8 is 2. That is your final answer. Okay? All right, next one. And again, if you want to work ahead and then see what I get for my answer, you can do that. Move the 6. So subtract. This is a positive 6, so we'll do the opposite and subtract 6. So we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. So negative, make sure you're using your calculator on these so you don't make mental mistakes like I did, in that last one. Negative 234 minus 6, this will give you a negative 240. And the right-hand side, I'm just left with a negative 20m. And now we have to get m by itself. So this is negative 20 times m. So we will do the opposite and divide by negative 20. Divide by negative 20. Take your calculator, negative 240 divided by negative 20 gives you a positive 12 equals m. Final answer, there we go. Whoa, I don't know what's going on with this tablet today. There we go. Okay, next up. Oops, trying to change the color, messed it up. Okay, so we need to get the x by itself. Again, we're always trying to get the variable by itself. So how do we move the negative 9? This is what you want to ask yourself. How do I get rid of this negative 9? Do the opposite. It's being subtracted from x, so I will add it. So add 9 to both sides. Okay? And again, if you're not good with your adding and subtracting and integers and stuff like that, use your calculator. Negative 204 plus 9 is negative 195 equals 13x. Okay, and then we ask ourselves, well, how do I get rid of that 13? Because I want x by itself. Well, I'm going to divide because this is being multiplied by x, so I'm going to divide by 13. Negative 195 divided by 13 is negative 15. Final answer, there we go. And again, you will know if you have these correct or not if you take that number and you plug it back in here for x, and you get negative 204 on the left, and you'll get a negative 204 on the right. And if you get that, then you know that you did it correctly. Now, there are two more problems that are a little different. If we look at this here, they're a little bit different. So same process though, but it looks different. How do we move that 20? Well, it's being added. There's a positive there, so it's being added. So we need to subtract 20 from both sides. So 20 minus 20 is 0. They're gone. My right-hand side is just n over 10. And the right-hand side, 18 minus 20, gives you a negative 2. So now we look at this number here and we say, what is its relationship to the variable? And it's being divided. So what's the opposite of division? This is being divided. What's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So we are going to multiply. Okay, so we're going to multiply both sides by 10. 10 times negative 2 is negative 20. Over here, if we multiply this, the 10 and the 10 cancel, and we are left with n. So there is our final answer for example F. All right, one more similar type of problem here. Move the negative 10. This is being subtracted, so we will do the opposite and add. Add 10, oops, forgot a 1. Add 10 to both sides. Negative 10 plus 10 is 0, they're gone. I have x over 12 equals negative 9 plus 10 is 1. Again, 12 is being divided, x divided by 12, so we will do the opposite and multiply. So we're going to, again, we got to do whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. We got to keep this equal. So the 12s here will cancel, so I'm left with x. 1 times 12 is just 12, so my final answer there is 12. Okay, so there you go. There's a bunch of examples on solving equations, and hopefully this is something you've already seen before, because I think you've done two-step equations in middle school, but again, I'm not entirely sure. So hopefully this is something that you've seen before. But if it's something you've struggled with or you're still a little confused on it, please let me know. We are building on this concept for the next few days. We'll keep adding and adding and adding and adding stuff. So you don't want to fall behind. Please let me know if you have any questions. Send me an email, private comment, and I will get back to you.